Hey guys, nothing in this game for me motivates me quite the way that a loss motivates me. Losses are what make me want to get better at this game and what keep me coming back and constantly trying to improve. So, what I found, however, is if I just have like kind of an amorphous goal to get better, I'm never going to actually get better. So I have to look at my gameplay. I have to do certain things to focus. So here I catch up to the party. I see him go to cast, but I interrupt him. I know the Sunbrow's coming up behind me, but I mistime my roll. And you can see everything just one hit leverages into the rest. I get some bullshit phantom range, and then a bad panic roll after my tears get popped, and that's the end of me. I don't know in that specific scenario that I could have done anything better, but I have some general ideas on getting better. And I'd like to kind of share those with you. I have a number of them. I've shortened the list here. Panic rolling in groups of enemies. You saw some of it right there. That's one thing I need to focus on doing better, getting away from that panic rolling. Another thing that I need to get better at is ring swapping. I'm not good at going into my inventory while playing and swapping out my inventory, rings specifically. Another thing is context appropriate weaponry, making sure that I don't get tunnel vision and switching up when things aren't working. It's not something I do very well today. And also using bundles. These are super effective. They're really powerful. I have them on my menu and I don't use them at all. In my experience, what I found is if I have a list of things to improve at, I won't do any of them. But if I trim that list and I focus on just one thing at a time, I can actually get a lot better by focusing in on that one thing. So what I've decided is I'm going to start trying to focus on using bundles. That's going to be the one goal that I have going into each invasion. This is actually the same approach I used to start using things like undead hunter charms. Originally, my goal was to use my consumables more often, but with such a wide-ranging goal, I never did it. So I started one at a time. I started focusing on using throwing knives. Then I started using undead hunter charms. And slowly I added all these into my repertoire till they all became second nature, and I use them all now regularly, and my gameplay's gotten much better because of it. So my plan is to kind of walk through each of the items that I've identified as improvement opportunities, work them into my game, and then move on to the next one once I feel like I've sort of mastered the previous. You won't see any of these improvements in the current gameplay. This is just a list I came up with. So hopefully in my future invasion videos, we'll be able to return to this same list specifically for right now, the bundles, and see how I did, see if I was actually able to improve. One thing I've learned in life is that just doing something over and over will make you better at it. But at a certain point, you stagnate. You need to actually practice. And practice is different than just doing something. It's doing something with a specific target in mind, something that you currently don't do very well. I learned this playing the guitar, and so I'm trying to bring those same sorts of lessons here to my gameplay. So we'll see how it goes. But the set of clips I've got for you today are just a bunch of fun little things that happened to me in the Grand Archives. And my invader buddy there jumps in to help me out, which is awesome. I almost swung on him earlier when I spawned in. I was really glad that I didn't. I don't think I would ever use the Untrue Dark Ring for the sole reason that I would not want to deal with invaders swinging at me all the time. I see it happen to Saint constantly, and it would just frustrate the hell out of me. Plus, I like having all my ring slots available for little upgrades and whatnot. So I always get a little nervous when I catch parties right here because they're close enough to the boss that they can just make a break for it. And if they've killed all the knights, there's really no kind of PvE to distract them. So you really need to get to them before they kill the knights. And so here they've obviously killed the knights. It's not a good situation. I've actually switched up my ring slots a bit. I felt like I was too reliant on just kind of what I had been doing. And the rings that I've been using up until now were informed more by what I used in duels than specifically invasion. So I'm really trying to go through and kind of question the things that I do and make sure that I'm doing them for a real reason. not just because I've always done it that way. So rings that are good for dueling aren't necessarily good for invasions. I freed up 2 ring slots, so now I can carry the Hornet ring and then another ring that I optionally swap to. And here in the Grand Archives, that for sure is going to be the Obscuring ring. I think that would be a pretty good setup for just about anywhere other than Gank City, where you'd want the Obscuring ring, and I'd probably give up the Hornet ring in favor of the Silver Cat ring. But when you've got the Obscuring ring on, you can really run up on parties without them seeing you, and it gives you a tremendous advantage. And there, that Phantom made a big mistake. He tried to swap weapons after he swung his weapon, and with me in swinging range. And the problem is that when you swap weapons, you cannot roll for about 1/3 of a second, which usually isn't that noticeable. But if you're swapping as somebody's swinging on you, you will definitely notice that you're unable to roll out of the way, and it can be kind of frustrating. So don't make that same mistake that he made. So this is the same party that I had invaded previously. The last time I invaded them, there was just a host and a Phantom. But this time we've got a second Phantom. I know these guys all want parries pretty badly, so I'm being super careful, and you'll see me use my R2s a lot. I didn't notice that red there until just then. And there I abandoned my running attack for fear that I was going to hit him. Here I take a chance with my running attack. I know how parry happy these guys were, but I knew I had a really good opportunity to take him out, and I figured if he did parry me, he wouldn't kill me. That's actually another change that I've made. I'd been watching some of Nif's videos, and I saw that he almost always used Tears of Denial. And you see here, I realized I'd forgotten to apply it because I haven't yet made it part of my muscle memory. But I saw Nif using it, and I realized like it is a huge help. Like even if you were using it in a dueling situation, you wouldn't want to use it without having some sort of regen, either like a Blessed Cestus or the Sun Princess ring. But in invasions, it often makes sense to have it. There's countless times where I would have lost an invasion, but I was able to get a second chance to come back and win because of it. Now, the cost is pretty substantial. You need really 14 attunement so that you can have the 2 ring slots, and that's assuming you don't need ring slots for anything else. And you need 15 faith. Now, there's ways around those minimums. You can use the ring that boosts your faith by 5 points and only have 10 points in faith. Or you could also, or I'd say, or you can use the ring like the Dark Moon ring that gives you 2 attunement slots. And then, so you could keep those rings on, cast Tears, and then remove them and swap them out when you spawn in. And I've tried that approach, and I've actually used it before, but I find it really frustrating. But if you don't want to do that, depending on your starting build, to get to 14 attunement and 15 faith can easily be an extra 10 points or so that you're investing. So at lower levels, meaning levels like 60 to 70 and below, that's a lot of levels to give up, but the opportunity cost for that many levels is pretty high. But this character's at level 92. Actually, let me stop there and talk a little bit about what you're watching here. So you see that I spawned in and I saw the host, and I'm not really sure what he's doing, so I'm chasing after him. He did not have the shortcut ladder open yet. I noticed that. and he's running ahead of me. And at this point, I'm thinking he's probably running off to try to open up one of these shortcuts. I see the thralls kind of milling around here, so it's obvious he did not go and open up the shortcut ladder, so he continued on through this way. And I see here that he did not take the elevator down, and at this point I realize he's probably making a break for the boss. For that elevator, all he would have had to have done is to just roll over on top of it and send it down. The PvE almost kills him. I'm hoping they're going to hold him up enough so that I can get to him, but he's too far ahead. And he makes it to the boss. I don't know, that didn't seem like a very good play on his part, because now if he loses to that boss, he's going to have to go all the way around and open up those shortcuts. But I was saying Tears of Denial, the cost in terms of the levels and the upgrades that you need is very, very high. But at level 90, when I thought about where I could put those other 10 points, it seemed like it was a trade-off worth making for me. I didn't realize that the host was right down there. And I also didn't realize that when I brought the elevator down, I was bringing the rest of his crew with the elevator. I get really lucky there, and I'm able to separate the host from the rest of the phantoms. They don't make them that easy very often. Another challenge with the Tears of Denial is trying to decide whether I want to allocate any Ash and Estus to the build so that when my tears do pop, I can refill it. I've decided against it. It's to give up that extra Estus for as often as I would need the Ash and Estus is, in my view, not really worth it. But I should probably pay more attention and find when I would want to cast it. And truthfully, I very rarely actually run out of Estus. It almost never happens. So thinking about it more, it might be worth actually giving up one of my regular Estus for an Ash and Estus. So I make a pretty big blunder here and drop down on the elevator long after it's already started declining or descending. And I got really lucky there, because if he had been ready with his Chaos Bed Vestiges, he would have smoked me right there. So the other invader sees what's up. He goes in and sets the elevator down. I'm always amazed at how often you can separate parties like this. I'm not sure why the other Sunbro didn't come up with him. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the content. Please check back again soon. You can see how I'm actually doing on my commitment to start using bundles more often. Thanks.